Stephen King once wrote that nightmares exist outside of logic, and there's little fun to be had in explanations. They're antithetical to the poetry of fear.
2010 was an interesting year in gaming. Rockstar went Western, Bungie released the last entry in their flagship series, and Call of Duty was about to explode from success with the release of Black Ops. In the midst of all of this, the developer Remedy was releasing a cult favorite. How could a narratively focused action horror game stand out amongst these giants? Well, the guys who made Max Payne not only ensured Alan Wake was a good title, but they also crafted an experience that can only be found when traveling through the dark forests of Bright Falls. Fortunately, or unfortunately, it depends on how you look at it, Remedy developed a remaster released in 2021 that I'll cover more in the presentation section of this video. I did play the original version and the remaster, so I'll go through some of the pros and cons of both. The footage you see in this video will also be from both games. With that, let's jump right into the story.
Carl couldn't make it. Unfortunately, he was taken ill. But I have the key for you and instructions on how to get to the lake.
Okay.
I wish you a good stay in my cabin. I'll come by later to check how you've settled in.
We open with Alan Wake himself. The successful writer is attempting to unwind by taking a vacation to Bright Falls with his wife Alice. The small Pacific Northwest town boasts picturesque views, kind citizens, and demonic possession.
Kinda neat.
It's more of a dark entity than a demon. You see, Alan's wife books this cabin for them to stay in. The location is perfect, inspiration is kicking in, and his wife is hardly wearing any clothes.
Hello there.
I'm not the surprise. It's in the study. Go take a look.
Yeah, baby!
Okay.
That's what I've been waiting for.
Things are looking up, until of course they get into a fight. Because the only thing married couples like more than not fucking is fighting. Alan storms out and later hears his wife screaming while he's having a good soak a few hundred yards away from the property. He runs back into the cabin and sees that she's fallen off the side of the patio into the lake. Wasting no time, Alan channels his inner Greg Louganis and goes after her.
Oh no!
Smash cut 7 days later, Alan wakes up in a crashed car in the middle of the woods with little to no memory of what happened after he jumped into the water. That's the setup, and I have to say it's a great way to open this story. Players can expect a narrative heavily inspired by Twin Peaks, Stephen King, Twilight Zone, and many more. The mystery of what happened to Alice compels one to investigate, and the steady trickle of revelation about the darkness in the town will keep you coming back until you reach the game's conclusion. It's good stuff. If you're into supernatural mystery, this is the game for you. That being said, this may not be the best route if you like complex characters. While I love the story in this game, I've always felt like there was a lack of character development for anyone outside of Alan. Alice is just a damsel in distress, and Barry is the wisecracking sidekick. Picture that, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
I don't care what anybody says, I'm done with darkness. You're gonna buy me a tanning bed as a gift, and I'm gonna live in it!
Barry and Alice get the most screen time other than the main character, but somehow I know nothing about them. And if Alice wasn't literally the point of the narrative, I don't think I would have given a damn about her. Not only that, Alan is kind of an asshole. He's swift to condescend, and I'm not the biggest fan of the way he talks to his wife and friend.
Douchebag of the year!
Regardless, the core story more than makes up for these shortcomings. There's a lot of care shown in crafting this narrative, and if you're not satisfied with the main story's ending, you can play 2 DLCs that either can be purchased for the original version or bundled with the remaster. This way you can not only be unsatisfied with the original ending, but also the DLC ending.
Oh, tight, yeah!
I don't see the point of these DLCs unless you're a mega fan. Very little new information is given, and Alan ends up largely where he was at the base game's conclusion.
This is ridiculous!
In short, the story is flawed, but still manages to be memorable or even iconic for its fans. Hopefully the gameplay keeps up the same energy. Alan Wake's combat is pretty simple to wrap your head around. Players can expect the conventional third-person over-the-shoulder perspective, but the game stands out with how you combat the enemies with light. The core enemies you fight are referred to as Taken. They are regular people who have been possessed by darkness. Darkness acts as a shield, so bullets don't penetrate until you break it. You do this by shining your flashlight on your enemy until the shield is gone. Keep that up and you can take out your threat. Oh, and the protection breaks faster the harder you point.
I'm pointing my wand as hard as I can!
You might not have time for all that though. What if the player just wants to kill the enemies and skip the flashlight? Well, you can break the shields quicker with flares, or you can use a flare gun to blast through the Taken, causing them problems. Even better, you can use flashbangs for a similar effect. Of course, all these items aren't just given to you. The player is responsible for finding ammo, batteries for the flashlight, and locating new weapons as they progress through the game. Hearing this, you would be forgiven for assuming Alan Wake plays like a survival horror game, but that's not exactly true. You see, your supplies aren't hard to find, even on the hardest difficulty, and the hit detection is very generous, considering the player's sight is literally the beam from the flashlight. Because of this lack of item management and difficulty, I'd refer to Alan Wake as an action horror game, instead of survival. The only mechanic that scared me was the way that Alan runs. Sure, he can dodge enemies with the trademark bullet time that Remedy is known for, but this dude must be a 2-pack-a-day kind of guy, because he runs all of 5 feet before he transitions to a brisk shuffle. Death might be nipping at his heels, but why would that rush Mr. Wake? I'm not knocking the game too much for this because the action elements are done well. I didn't want to mislead anyone interested in trying this game out. Know that Alan Wake prioritizes its story first and its gameplay second. There are no health packs or healing abilities in this game. You have a very slow passive health regen, or players can recharge their health by getting to a checkpoint at what is called a safe haven. Stand beneath the streetlight until you feel rejuvenated, then get back out there.
Easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl.
Alan Wake is the king of narrative-based collectibles. You find manuscripts in each chapter that tell a story. Not all of these stories are connected, but they are all interesting and relevant to what's happening around you. Plus, they are narrated for you, so I can still claim that I'm literate.
I know some of these words.
If reading isn't your thing, that's okay, because you can find these TVs that play a Twilight Zone-inspired show with live-action actors. These are a little corny, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't find them entertaining. And if you don't like those, there is always the option of watching Alan bug out.
Zane writes about himself, his girlfriend being taken over by a dark presence, about growing scared of the lake.
I'm saying the gameplay is serviceable for what Remedy was going for. Yes, plenty of third-person action games do shooting, movement, and enemy variety better, but none of them feel like Alan Wake. Well, unless they have shitty driving mechanics. That might feel the same.
Probably in trouble down at the farm. For a moment, I felt bad for doubting it. After all, I made it this far myself. But Barry was Barry.
So far, we have an exceptionally thought-out story and some polished but basic gameplay. How does Alan Wake fare in the presentation department? Should you play the original or the remaster? Well, let's find out.
It's coming for you, hiding in my barber's skin. I'm too weak to stop it. You must turn the lights on.
I promised I'd come visit you and your lovely wife. You must finish what you started.
Play the original game, pay for the DLC if you want it, and move on with your life. Don't waste your time with the remaster. Well, that's if you're a PC player.
Slow down, minion. If you drink too fast, you get bellyache.
I'm getting ahead of myself here. What did they change in the remaster? Textures have been given the increased detail treatment, audio has been improved, and the game is now able to run in 4K. These are all cool additions, and it's logical to include these upgrades in a remaster. But it doesn't make sense why they changed Alan Wake's face. It's not all bad because the facial animations were terrible in the original version, but it just seems needless, and I would have preferred if they spent that effort elsewhere, like making the PC version run correctly.
The small stuff.
I played both versions and noticed that the original game had far fewer issues. For example, the remaster suffers from pop-in, object warping, and whatever the fuck this is.
And already can see this amazing deep reflector shine.
Not only that, but in the remaster, I encountered a problem early on where the TVs wouldn't turn on. This is a big deal considering your missing story. Bad for sure, but remember this is only on the PC version. I have a friend who played it on his PS5 and he said he had no issues. So if you insist on getting the remaster, please buy it on console. If that's not an option, buy the original version on Steam. It mostly holds up visually. So why fight with a game when you don't have to? Okay, bitching aside, I love the level design in Alan Wake. The environments are crafted with such attention to detail players will feel like they're in the Pacific Northwest. With the lush forests and small logging towns accentuating the setting, you'll be doing heroin and listening to grunge in no time.
We are Sadgasm!
If you play the original version, you may notice some pixelation and blurriness with the cutscenes, but other than that, both versions look great. The original just runs better in every way, in my opinion. Something fantastic in both versions is the performances. The voice acting is done very well. I stand by my earlier statement that the characters aren't fleshed out, but the performances are spectacular. There is not one line of dialogue in this game that isn't convincing. Not one. I felt like I was watching a very well-produced TV show, without compromising the experience of playing a video game. Something Remedy would have trouble with later, ironically enough. Alan Wake also has an excellent soundtrack, with a lot of licensed music that I enjoy. The original score is also good, but nothing will ever beat the Harry Nilsson classic. It's interesting to see the following that Alan Wake has garnered over the years. It was a cult hit when it first released, but 13 years later its sequel is one of the biggest games of 2023. It goes to show you that single-player narrative-focused games can resonate with people. Alan Wake stands out as a unique experience even after all these years. I can recommend it, and I'm excited to cover the sequel. And I honestly hope Alice and Alan reunite. As always, thank you for your time.